Hello, everyone. My name is Akshaj, and today I'll be taking you through uh, my work on the CliMetLab web application as part of this ESoC 2022 Summer of Code. So today I'll talk you through the motivation behind building this project and the solution which was proposed, how I built that solution, and the features that I built with that. I will also show you how the user interface looks like right now and share with you my current progress and the next steps. All right, so the problem. So as of now, CliMetLab settings are configured via the terminal, which is cumbersome to use. Because first of all, you need some exposure to the terminal and how to use it. You would have to remember the features provided by CliMetLab's command line interface. Searching for files would require multiple keystrokes and typing often the same commands over and over with some small modifications. Deletion, especially batch deletion of files, would be difficult. And finally, viewing some of the statistics, such as the cache size or the number of cache files, that would require repetitive entry. So the proposed solution to that would be building a graphical user interface. So while command lines are extremely helpful and often necessary for many edge cases, GUI for the most part smoothens out commonly used features that are used over and over. So in case of CliMetLab web app, a GUI will provide an easy method to search for files based on different characteristics such as the file name or the file size, the date of creation, uh, it would also display all available features on the screen. So you would have to refer to the documentation over and over again. It's easier to pick up compared to a command line and involves less typing for repetitive tasks. So now that we have that, let's look at how we architect this application. So on the left, you can see the front end, and on the right, you can see the actual Python package. And there's a reason that these two are decoupled. That's because we wanted the end user to have zero JavaScript dependency, and we achieved that by directly serving the HTML files via our backend in Flask. That's written in Flask. So how it works is on the left, we use React along with TypeScript to develop this app. We use Tailwind to style it and make reusable components out of style components. So after developing the app, we create a build output, which consists of all the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and copy that into the CliMetLab script web's root, which is then served by Flask. So in the end, the user will not have to download Node.js or run any Node server at all. We could simply just download this from PyPy and get working with it. And there's an additional dependency with CliMetLab. That's because we use certain features for filtering via the CliMetLab Python package. All right, so now that we know how we are building this, let's look at what we are building. So there are two main verticals, cache and settings. Settings would control the global behavior of CliMetLab. For example, it could mean setting the directory in which your cache files are downloaded, or it could mean different plotting options that you want to set. The second vertical, which is the cache, that involves two major features. One set of features could be clubbed under inspection, cache inspection, and the other under management. When we talk about cache management, that involves deleting the files, either single files or batch deletion, as well as setting the auto deletion policy. Inspection, on the other hand, that refers to the filtering of cache files. We talked about that earlier based on the file name and the file size and the dates. Having a disk usage overview that could show you how much size the cache occupies in your system, how many files are there, and finally a preview where you could click on a cache file and a pop-up would just open and show you what that um, grave.hdf file looks like. All right, moving on to the user interface that I've designed. So this was designed originally in Figma. It started out from small wireframes to what you're looking right now. So the UI is divided into two major parts, two major components, speaking in React terms. The one is the header and the second one is the table, the body. The header consists of the forms that we need and all of the input fields, and the body contains the table. So how this all works is I maintain a global state in the cache component that is updated based on the response from the server after we send them the search parameters. And then once that state changes from the server's response, um, all of the other components that depend on that state update themselves. In this case, the table depends on that cache data to render all of the rows that you see. So that updates. This is a second view of that same file, and it's just to show how the date and the file size work. So it's not the typical datetime format that you are used to seeing when you think of calendars on web browsers. So here we have um, created this input that's specifically based on CliMetLab's mature functionality that I will be talking about in the next few slides. So all of this is built using reusable components. The input fields, the drop down, the table, everything. And that makes it easier as the project goes further along to develop new features and ensure that um, functionality and style-wise things remain consistent. And finally, this is the final page, the settings page. This again would reuse the table component that I created earlier. And it's used to, again, set certain values that control the global behavior of CliMetLab. Right, so now that we've seen the UI, let's talk a little about the current progress. Um, so as of now, the cache inspection module is almost complete. Most of the things are there. The filter functionality, which is the crux of the project, that's handled by the master class in CliMetLab. And this master class, oh, and by the way, none of the filtering functionality is written in JavaScript or even in Python inside this CliMetLab script. Right? All of it's being written and used from the master class in CliMetLab. And this is to ensure that these features have a single point of origin and are easy to maintain, support, debug in the future. So this master class, it expects a dictionary where the keys are what you see on the screen: match, larger, smaller, newer, and older. And all of them expect certain values. For example, if we talk about the dates, um, the H and D that you see correspond to the hours and days. You could also have M for minutes and S for seconds. If we talk about the file size, U, C, G, and K, there's also an M. These stand for gigabytes, kilobytes, and megabytes. And finally, the match, where you enter any text and it would recursively search for this text present in the cache's metadata. Uh, and I've created a small GIF of the current working functionality. And as you can see, it's easy to select or deselect files. It's easy to enter search terms, set the file size, including the values or the units. And then once you press apply, voila. All right, so now that we've covered all of that, let me tell you what my next steps are. So the immediate next steps would be to finish the cache page by adding a preview button and adding a new input, which filters by date. Then I would start working on the settings page and eventually the documentation. This is a rough timeline of the things. So on the left, things are completed in May and June. Green is the current month, and the future would be August. Thank you for listening in, everybody. Please let me know if you've got any questions.